How's your vote working out? As a union worker, I'm in the find out stage. And you know what's so messed up about the find out stage? I didn't vote for the, but we're all in this basket together. How's that no tax on overtime? That no tax on tips? How's that working out? I'm going to tell you how it's working out in my union. No more overtime. That's right. Every time that I put in for overtime or my other union brothers and sisters put in for overtime, we're getting denied. I actually had a union brother who actually voted for this administration tell me he can't afford his summer home now because there's no overtime. And you know me, I like to tell it how it is. So I said, well, hey, bro, guess what? I told you so. And he had the audacity to say, it wasn't Trump. It's not because of him. Then what the heck is it? Because under Joe Biden, I had plenty of overtime. I had so much overtime, I had to turn back overtime. Now I got none. None. And thank you, MAGA. Thank you. Thank you for destroying this country with your vote. Because we can't even afford to live here anymore.
Hello guys, welcome back to the video. Today we'll be talking about no tax on overtime. Remember when during the election it was promised that there won't be tax on overtime. Now we are talking about it because workers have realized that no tax on overtime wasn't what they thought, and now people are furious. In this video, we break down what was promised, what actually happened, and why many workers say their paycheck didn't change the way they expected. From confusion around tax law and fine print most people never saw, frustration is boiling over as over time workers realize nothing feels different. So it was actually promised that there will be no tax on overtime, but now people are beginning to realize that it was all part of deceiving people into believing what was actually not going to happen. So we have people who are complaining about this, people who are beginning to realize that this was a lie. And let's watch what other people have to say about this, and then we'll come back and discuss this some more. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and all rights remain to the original creators of this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and like. Thank you so much. Also drop your thoughts in the comment section. Let's talk about this some more, and I get your thoughts on what you think. Let's watch.
Have y'all filed y'all's taxes yet? I think they filled us full of shit. I mean, every time you hear Donald Trump open his mouth, it's no tax on overtime. Hell, I busted my ass last year. Made $60,000 worth of overtime. I just found out that I got to pay taxes on $40,000 of that overtime. Hell, it's all because of that big fucking beautiful bill. I'm starting to wonder what's so fucking beautiful about it. You know, I appreciate that extra $5,000 I'm going to get on that $20,000 worth of that $60,000 worth of overtime. But don't fill us full of shit and tell us that we're not paying taxes on overtime, because we're paying taxes on 2/3 of it. Shit.
So now that you're filing your 2025 taxes and are noticing that the no tax on overtime was complete and utter bullshit, let me explain it to you from somebody who works in the industry. You are being taxed on your overtime. Every single paycheck. Any overtime that you're working is being taxed regularly, as it always has, as it always will be. One, your checks are not going to look any different. They're going to look exactly the same. What you will see for 2026, so when you file your taxes in 2027 for 2026, is probably qualified overtime on box 14 of your W-2 that will give you a much smaller number than what you actually were paid for your overtime. Why? Let me explain it to you. The reason being because qualified overtime only applies for the premium of what you worked for the overtime. So essentially the time and a half of what you were paid. So if you were paid $20 an hour and your overtime rate is 30, the qualified overtime is those $10, not the entirety of the $30. To put it in whole numbers for you. So people are disappointed. People are like, oh my God, I thought it was no tax on overtime. Trump was, he lied to you again, and you fell for it because you don't read and didn't educate yourself. So no, the amount that is not taxed is a very minuscule amount that is very insignificant. And it's, I think, $12,500 per single filers, or like $25,000 for joint. I don't know. At the end of the day, is barely anything. So he duped you, and you fell for it again. So hopefully that clears it up. Enjoy your coffees. And you're still being taxed on your overtime.
Just so you know, when you go to file your taxes this year, the no tax on overtime that Trump sold you on to get your vote is actually no tax on a third of overtime. Because the only portion of your overtime that is non-taxable is the half in your time and a half pay. So if you get double time on overtime, or you're getting an incentive for working overtime, that's taxable. And this all phases out at $150,000 if you're filing single. For every $1,000 you make over $150,000, you're gonna miss out on $100 of the maximum $12,500 deduction. This is far from no tax on overtime, because I know I have made over $75,000 this year on overtime. But you know what I'm gonna be able to deduct? Less than $5,000. He wants to make it seem like he's doing something for the working class, but if you look at the tax breaks that millionaires and billionaires got, it's not even comparable. We still got shit on. He just wants to make you think that he actually did something good for you. And the sad thing is, you're all buying it.
Hey, it's Joe from Georgia. So people have started filing their federal income tax, and what they're starting to learn, especially those people on the right who thought they weren't going to pay taxes on overtime. Well, I will tell you this, the big beautiful bill was crafted with a precision to ensure that 90% of overtime is not tax deductible. And folks, people do need to understand the difference between a deduction and a credit. So FedEx put out a memo to their employees that because of the type of job they're in transportation, that overtime is not covered. And there's a lot of things that aren't covered. By the way, airline industry, none of that overtime can be deducted, not one penny of it, because transportation operates under the Railway Labor Act. So folks, all those people got so excited that they were not going to pay tax on overtime. You're filing your taxes and you're finding out. Now, there are some people who qualified within that very narrow window. However, they're getting very few dollars of that overtime taken away. You know, it's kind of like that, you know, no tax on Social Security. You know, the one that doesn't exist. But folks, the con economics of the Trump administration.
So, MAGA, filed your taxes yet? How's that no tax on overtime coming? I just filed my taxes this morning. And I didn't have very much overtime. I only had like $275 worth of overtime, but I only got a $90 credit. So for everyone that's thinking they're going to get all of this money back because their overtime's not going to be taxed, Okay. Well, let me know how that goes for you. Because I can't stop laughing. It's just funny. Did you really think that there was going to be no tax on overtime?
MAGA, we have to talk about the no tax on overtime. Personally, out of all the stuff that Donald Trump has spewed out of his mouth, the only thing as a blue collar worker that I was interested in was the no tax on overtime. Because I work a lot of overtime and Uncle Sam has his hand in it and just takes all my money that I worked hard for. Now, I made a video about this no tax on overtime, digging into the Heritage Foundation, digging into Project 2025, finding that they want to make it a 160-hour work month. Now, you would say, well, what's the big deal? You basically work 160 hours in a work month. The issue is, if they're making it a 160-hour work month compared to a 40-hour work week, anything after 40 hours in that work week, you get time and a half. If they make it a 160-hour work month, that means that you could work 10, 12, 13, 14-hour days until it equals 160 hours before you get paid one lick a time and a half. So these companies can force you to work 13, 14, 15-hour days without paying you time and a half because you didn't hit 160 hours for that work month yet. Then once you hit that 160 hours, the company does not have to make you work anymore. They could basically just backfill the position with somebody else that hasn't worked 160 hours yet, which is basically cutting away overtime 100% if they wanted to. So MAGA, if everything I said is true, what are you going to do? Are you going to finally hold Donald Trump accountable? We are the blue collar. We are the working class. We were promised no tax on overtime. If he doesn't do that, we have to collectively get together and voice our anger at Donald Trump and this administration and not vote Republican again. Think about it.
So as usual, we're going to read the comment sections and hear what every other person has to say about this. So first person said, I'm not even mad in a partition way. I'm mad as a worker. I work overtime because I have to, not because I want to. When they say no tax on overtime, I genuinely believed my take-home pay would increase in a noticeable way. It didn't. My check looks the same. My bills are the same, and now I feel stupid for trusting a slogan instead of actual policy language. This is exactly why people stop believing anything politicians say. uh okay, this person is explaining why he feels that he was not supposed to believe what was said during a campaign, what a slogan said. And the second person says, I defended this promise for months. I told co-workers to be patient, that belief was coming. Now I'm working at my pay stub and realizing the promise was technically true but practically meaningless. That feels worse than outright lie. If you know working people will interpret something one way and you let them believe it, that's on you. This one is trying to say that you said something and you felt people are not going to understand it the way you said it, or people are going to take it another way around, and you still let them on and they continued taking it the way they understood it. You didn't try to change their understanding, you try to correct their narrative about something. That is on you. The next person said, this isn't political drama for me. I plan my budget around the idea that over time would help would help me get ahead instead of just helping me survive. Gas is up, rent is up, groceries are insane, and overtime still gets eaten alive by taxes. Watching politicians argue semantics why people are struggling is infuriating. This person is talking about how rents are going up and still taxes are eating up overtime that they were planning on taking back home to clear these bills. This person is feeling angry about this, and it's exhausting for them. The next person said, "What bothers me most is how vogue the message and words. No tax on overtime is a powerful phrase, and they knew exactly how people would hear it. If it only applied to certain brackets, certain hours, or require changes that never passed, that should have been explained clearly from day one. Workers deserve transparency, not catchphrases." Yes, the next person said, "I still support a lot of the platform, but I can admit this rollout was bad. People wearing dumb for expecting more money." That's literally what was implied. You can't blame workers for believing what was said out loud over and over. If the policy doesn't actually change people's lives, then what's the point? The next person said, "So basically, it was no tax on overtime. In the same way, sales are up to 70% off. Sounds great until you read the tiny text. The problem is, paychecks don't have fine print. Either people feel the difference or they don't, and most of us don't." Um, the next person said, "This whole situation shows why trust in institutions is collapsing. People are exhausted, overworked, and desperate for relief. When leaders sell hope and deliver paperwork, it creates resentment. Resentment. This isn't about red versus blue anymore. It's about whether working people can believe anything they are promised." The next person said, "I don't care who you voted for. If a policy is marketed to workers and workers feel zero impact, it failed. People stop gaslighting people by saying um they misunderstood. Maybe the problem is that the promise was designed to sound better than it actually was." Actually, this is very funny because honestly everybody is seeing the exact same thing. Maybe the promise was actually meant to sound better than it actually was. And to me, that's the sit, because why would you make something come off a different way? Why it's actually a different way altogether? Like, this looks so planned out, for real. It looks extremely planned out. Like, you literally knew this is what you wanted people to believe. You were aware of this is what you are aware of what you were doing. It's it was something that it was a thought out plan. You knew for real this is what you wanted people to take out of what you said. Because no tax on overtime, it was never explained. You just said it, and you knew people were going to take it out of context. We were going to take it out of the way it actually was going to be at the end of the day. You let people on, literally. You knew they were misunderstanding this thing. You didn't try to correct it. You just let them believe whatever they believed. And now you're saying, no, it's not on this, it's on this. That's typical. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. Do not forget to like and subscribe, and then we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.